So, something you don't know, I actually was an education major when I started BYU-Idaho. I was gonna be an elementary school teacher. That's what I'd started out with because I grew up in a family where we didn't have a lot of money, so I was just like, "I'm gonna pick something practical." And I was like, "There's elementary school teachers everywhere. That's always gonna be a job." And then my very first semester, I think I had Brother Rose's, American Foundations class, and I was always interested in political science, but I wasn't sure if that would be something that was practical for me to do. I was like, "What can you even do with that?" That was like I I started college in the year of 2016, so the primaries I'd gotten really into that year, and that's kinda, like, sparked that interest, but I didn't commit until the end of my first semester after Brother Rose's class, and then I decided to Google, "What can I do with a poli-sci degree?" And then I found being a lawyer, and I was like, "You know what? I think I wanna do criminal defense. That's what I wanna do." So, I was 18 when I decided, but wasn't always what I wanted to do.
But you have to do well on the LSAT, right, to be a lawyer?
Barely. So, it basically granted, it's been a minute since I've done admissions. There are 2 things that they look at. It's GPA and your LSAT. So, if you have a really strong GPA, you can have a lower LSAT. And if you have a really high LSAT, you can have a lower GPA. And if you have a really high both, then maybe you're looking at, like, the T14 is sometimes what they're called. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't go to a T14. I think I was do I even remember what my LSAT was? No, I do not.
It was good enough, though, you did
It
pretty
was
well.
it was fine. I
Yeah,
got but, like, I also had a really good GPA. So, I was decent in both, but I knew that I wanted to go to law school in Ohio because I knew I wanted to come back here. So, I think as long as you get, like, over a 155, at least when I was doing it, like, which is pretty average, and you are applying yourself in school, there is a law school that will take you, and there are decent law schools, and maybe that changes scholarships, but, like, maybe I think I got, like, I think I only got a 160 if I remember
that's pretty
correctly.
good. 160's 1 standard deviation above the mean, that's pretty good.
I mean, it goes up to 180.
No, I know, but if you're 1 standard deviation above the mean, you're still in that puts you in the top 15%.
I don't think that that's that
It
high.
is, it is.
I don't know.
If
But
you get a 170, you're in the top 2.5%.
I don't know. I don't listen,
Yeah, it's
it has been
okay.
so long since I've done this,
I know, it's okay.
but
That's
I
pretty good. 160 is pretty good.
yeah, I think I got a 160 and then I had, like, a 3.8 GPA, and I was able to get a full ride or at least the highest tuition from OSU, UC, and, um, Case Western, which is the other big law school in Ohio. They didn't, do full rides, but as close as they go to full rides. I think they only went up to, like, 3/4 tuition or something like that. But, like, I was offered max scholarships at all those. So, like, I knew people that had, like, these. I knew people that had, like, significantly lower that were, like, quite average, and they got in as well, and that was partially I wanted to go to those kinds of schools because I wanted to be wherever you go to law school, it's gonna somewhat be dependent upon, like, the connections you make. Because if UC really does a lot of, like, internships. BYU Idaho does the same exact thing. It's one of the things I liked about both my alma maters is that we cared about, like, you doing some work experience while you're in school. So, like, now I'm on a little thing about admissions, but, you can I know it's a little more competitive now than when I went to law school, but if you apply yourself and you can be a good candidate. It's not just numbers, it's not just anything, it's also, like, you also get to write an admission statement, and you have the ability to do more. So I wouldn't say, like, you have to get, like, the top scores, you have to get, like, everything, and that's always kind of been where I've been at with school. Like, it's funny, I think I did really well at BYU Idaho, but I was a very average law student.
That's okay.
I was the exact average my first semester. I was the average student. I was the one person that was in the middle.
Well, but you didn't lose your scholarship, right?
No. No, you just have to there are some law schools that are better about that. There's some that if you don't maintain a GPA, but as long as you're doing, like, decently in school and also, like, everything's set on a curve in law school, and it's for my law school, it was a B your, first year, and then it's a B plus after that. So, like, you're still getting good grades.
Yeah, but having that scholarship is what allows you to be a public defender today.
I think it's also my insanity. Um, Part of it, I will say, like, my student loans, I had almost none from BYU-Idaho. I think I was, like, around, like, 10,000 from BYU-Idaho because I had a decent scholarship at BYU-I. I still have a decent amount of loans from law
Yeah.
school because
Yeah,
tuition is
everyone.
only one part of it.
Right, right.
And I also interned as a public defender during law school, so I did end up with, so I think BYU-Idaho has, like, very much, because it's so affordable, if you're gonna do grad school, it leaves you open to having more loans because I think the average amount of loans you get, and I'm, like, not anywhere near this, is, like, 100 something K,
Yeah,
like, after law
yeah.
school. But BYU-Idaho, because I didn't pay a lot for that, and because BYU-Idaho is so cheap, like, because you're also paying for living expenses, like, Rexburg's a pretty affordable place to live. Because especially because you always have roommates with the way that the housing is set up when you're single. I can't speak to, I wasn't married on campus, so I don't know what the prices are for that, but it was a lot cheaper than law school, like, just living in a city like Cincinnati where I went to law school.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's another question I wanted to ask about law school. Because you're a public defender, are there student loan forgiveness programs for you?
Yeah. So I get to do public student loan forgiveness. I have been pretty fortunate that I'm on an income-based repayment plan, so, like, that's why, like, whether it's CK or 100K, it gets forgiven after 10 years, and my payment's the same whether or not I have 100K in loans or 50K in loans. So, like, I don't know that the scholarship changed all that much. I probably would have been crazy enough to do this anyway.
I hope you make it 10 years as a public defender.
Hey, I've already made it 3.
Yeah. It's probably really rewarding, right? To like help people out.
Would say that it is. I think, like, sometimes it can be a little frustrating, like, people who are going through active addictions. It's usually, like, a lot of people that are, like, struggling with something. Like, someone who's struggling with an active addiction or mental health, like, are the biggest things. And that can sometimes be frustrating because, but you can't even get mad at them because, like, they're not well. But, like, by and large, like, I would say, like, it is, like, such an honor and a privilege. I don't, it's not like I'll be honest, most of the time I don't win. I don't, like, get to get the good results. Like, I think people are like, will look at, like, suits and they'll be like, I won this case, I won this case, I'm undefeated in trial. I'm mostly defeated in trial, I'll be honest. But because, like, you don't get to pick your cases, you get people who don't have good cases. Like, you'll have, and then once I'm at a point where I'm doing serious cases now, like, when you get, like, A felonies, like, they're gonna be like, they don't charge those unless they have a reason to. Like, you don't just, like, be like, "I think you murdered this with no evidence." Like, no, you're not charging someone for a murder with no evidence. But,
Well,
like,
then I'm happy you don't have a great track record of winning. I'm happy that those people are going to jail.
I haven't done a lot of murders. I'm just being facetious on that. But by and large, like, you get to stand with people who don't ever get to be seen as people. Like, a lot of time you get the privilege of being someone who stands next to someone and, like, actually, like, so many people have, like, such sad stories. Like, their parents never cared about them. No one has ever cared about them in their lives. And you're, like, the first person to actually, like, sit down and, like, treat them like a human being and, like, kind of getting to bear witness to what's going on. Like, some things, like, are tough. And I'll sit here and say, like, I think that some laws in Kentucky in particular are stupid. I think it's insane that we treat, I get that fentanyl's a scary drug, but I think it's insane that we're gonna treat, um, someone who is possessing fentanyl and then gets taken into the jail and maybe is high and doesn't know that they have it. We're going to treat that as a violent offense, but we're going to not treat drug traffic as a violent offense. That doesn't make sense to me. That's stupid to me. Like, I'll sit there and I'll stand on my soapbox about Kentucky law all day. But, so sometimes there is, like, things that I do think are injustices, but, like, most of the time, like, incarcerated people, I don't know that I think it's, like, obviously there's, like, violent crime that people will just need to be, there's some incarceration that has to happen, but, like, drug addiction is not treated that well. And so, like, being able to get someone out to a rehab, like, for all the people that don't succeed, because it usually takes more than once to get yourself back together. There's occasionally, like, that one, and that's kind of makes it worth it. You get to see someone who, like, puts together their life, or you get to be someone who just cares about someone, and that mattered. Like, I think my first murder trial, and I want to clarify, it was an accident. So, but like one of the kindest, sweetest men that I've ever had the privilege of working with. Like I adore that man. Like it was a privilege to get to sit there and like be like keep him sane through that process. And like, did it change anything? Maybe no, but he got to he got to be treated like a person. He got to have someone who cared about him and didn't just treat him like a statistic or like the worst thing you've ever done. We're all more than the worst thing we've ever done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me ask you some questions, Sarah, about BYU Idaho, and so many students want to be lawyers that I encounter.
Yeah.
First, I was talking to someone yesterday. She had no idea that you could major in anything and then go to law school. So, why do you think a political science degree, or why do you think that that's a good path for someone who wants to go to law school? Or is it not?
Well, I'll say this. I think political science is the most common degree for people who go to law school. It's so, in some ways, like you have that in common with a bunch of other students. I think a lot of my friends did do poli sci. I had one friend who also did a master's in philosophy before law school. But like, I think part of it is that the people that are interested in politics, that are interested in those kinds of things, are also interested in the law. And like, if you're gonna do a degree, you might as well do something you're interested in. I loved political science. I loved every bit of it. I think I took the entire course catalog for fun. Instead of doing electives, I took the entire course catalog because I was a crazy person. But like, it's good because you enjoy it. And like, I feel like the people who want to do law often love political science too. I don't know that it's like you have to do political science, but it is pretty common. You'll have that in common with other students. But I also think like I really love our poli sci program at BYU Idaho. Like, I don't know that I could talk up anyone else. I don't think I'd be willing to do this for anyone else. I still like Brother Rose, you, Brother Adamson, Brother Carter. You guys changed my life in like so many ways for the better. And it's funny now looking back because now I feel like a whole grown adult. But you guys were really just like dealing with me as a teenager and just letting me run wild.
Well, so talk a little bit more about that, about because there are some students that are afraid to get to know faculty members. Like, why do you think it's important to get to know, and an advice you might have about getting to know your faculty member?
I think it's just something that happens over time. I think particularly because I had a lot of classes with people. Brother Carter, he actually got to have the class where me and my husband met. And he still remembers when, and I'm talking hypothetically and allegedly, of course, when my now husband opened a glitter thing and hit an envelope full of glitter in his classroom. And I don't know who gave it to him, but he was like actually fairly cool about that. He did say never to do it again. But like sometimes it's just like you have classes with the same professors over and over again. And like at a certain point, it's normal. They're gonna start to care about you. And I like adored our professors. And I don't know that like I hung out with them like on a day-to-day basis, like other than like class, but like over time you just gain relationships with people. I TA'd for who did I TA for? Brother Smith. Like that was kind of a great experience because I also got to talk with him a lot. And I think part of it's because I took a lot of classes in the course catalog, so I had like 4 or 5 classes with every professor. It feels like some people not as many. Uh, Brother Lamoureux, I only think I had one with, but like especially the ones who like got to see me over the years, I feel like I was able to like see them and they knew who I was and they cared about me. And that, frankly, they're the reason it makes it easy because I'm not someone who like goes out of my way to go socialize with people. Like they're like, hey, look at Sarah.
Did you do like the pre-law society or anything like that? Did you do anything extracurricular?
I did the poli sci society.
Mm-hmm.
I like attended a couple pre-law things. I don't think that the society was that active when I was at BYU Idaho, but I mostly just did the poli sci society.
Okay.
I only remember pre-law having like an activity or two, and then I didn't even know what was going on. Like I tried to join it, I could figure out how.
So you did it differently than a lot of people because you just took every political science class. But do you have advice in terms of like some students try to take easy classes, some try to take hard classes, some like any advice about that?
I think you should take classes that you're interested in. I don't think you should care. Don't like just take easy classes because at the end of the day, law school's hard. and you get out of your education what you put into it. You do yourself a disservice by not like taking full advantage. Like that's why like sometimes like I take that in a soapbox about chat GPT because like you're not learning the skills that you're going to need later. Like all of law school is about rewiring your brain at first. It's about how to think like a lawyer. If you don't know how to do that mental engagement, if you don't know how to apply yourself, like I think that I did ended up doing better in law school because I graduated a year early. I don't know if
Yeah.
yeah, I graduated a year early, which meant I took like 18 credit semesters. And I also worked. That amount of work, like, I think set me up for success in law school because you're gonna be in class all day long and then you'll be at, I was usually at the library till like 8 p.m., like making sure that I did all my homework. Like, law school is a lot. And like, if you don't put yourself in a situation where it's a little bit safer to work hard to get yourself those skills, you're putting yourself at a disservice. So, and I'm not saying like don't have a fun class, like have a fun class, but like you're gonna get into it what you put out of it, or you're gonna get out of it what you put into it.
Right. Do you feel like we prepared you well for law school, or was it a huge leap in challenge, like much more difficult?
I think law school is just its own thing. I think like it's not like anything. Like I wasn't like in law school, so it's not prepping me for law school necessarily. But I think like there are things about BYU Idaho that like that were really good, especially the poli sci, because one of the biggest things is like teaching you to your ability to critically think. I think for me, as someone who did not politically align with almost anyone at BYU Idaho, I think like specifically also in the time that I was there, like me being able to engage with people that I didn't necessarily agree with in a constructive way. And also like we're in a poli sci class, we're going to be talking about politics. And I am very much like I'm very progressive. And I was like coming off of like me being upset that Bernie Sanders didn't win the primary. And then like we're going into the Trump election. Like I think that being able to engage in hard topics. And I know that in our class we had that like a whole big discussion when the Me Too movement started. Like we were critically engaging with like world events. And I think that's like truly the best way that our department we don't I never felt like anyone ever shied away from talking about current events. I can only imagine that has made things more crazy right now because I imagine because it feels like current events are feeling way too current right now.
They're very
But like,
emotionally charged, especially with Minnesota, right? Like
yeah,
we're talking about what's going on in Minnesota right now.
yeah, and like I imagine like that's even like BYU Idaho is not like a monolith either. Like I think people get like this idea of like, oh, it was like the reddest state during the 2012 election, but also Romney was running, so like maybe that informs that a little. Like it's not just like a thing. Like I hung out with international students probably most of the time. Like we have such a big international student community because of the fact that like the way that visas work, their family has to be able to afford their whole education from the get go because we're more affordable, that's a lot easier for people to do BYU Idaho. So like even sometimes you'll get people who aren't LDS who come to BYU Idaho because of that, because the church does a very good job at like subsidizing education. And I think that like that is something I'm so grateful I was able to take advantage of. But like it wasn't like a monolith. Like it wasn't just like people who were just like very much MAGA. There was also like people that were more libertarian. There weren't a lot of people in my camp, but there were a lot of like range from libertarians to very Republican to like there's also like a Republican schism within. Like it's not just like one thing or the other. And also like because there's a lot of like sometimes LDS people have a slightly different view on immigration, at least at the time. I can't speak to it now, but on immigration than even like what some like other Republicans have because this church is such a worldwide church. Like all those things inform it. And I feel like getting to engage in everything is like really because like let's be real, you're debating in law school. You have to learn how to debate and you also have to learn how to talk to people. I don't believe in incarceration. I have to figure out how to resolve a case with prosecutors whose whole job is to incarcerate people all day. Like it's one of the best skills I got at BYU Idaho is talking to people who I don't agree with.
Yeah. Um, Sarah, this is great. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to share?
I feel like I actually like, I'll say this as someone, I don't know if this is helpful to anyone. Like, I'm not a member anymore. I'll just say that up front. I know you know that already, but like, I think like I have a lot of nuance with the church, but I am so grateful for my experience at BYU Idaho. Um, I'm grateful for the professors. I'm grateful for the ways that it stretched me because I didn't always agree with everything. I mean, obviously, I'm not a member anymore, but I think that the church did cause some such good things in my life. It's how I met my husband in the poli sci department. Neither of us are members anymore, and we actually didn't start dating until long after we were at BYU Idaho. Just because like you struggle with some parts of the church doesn't mean that you can't have a good experience with BYU Idaho. And I want people to know that even if they're struggling, you can have a good experience with BYU Idaho.
That's awesome, Sarah. That's so great. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording.